From hurricanes that tear the roofs from buildings to tornadoes that sweep up livestock, Mother Nature has plenty of tricks up her sleeve when it comes to extreme weather. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, literally. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're taking a look at some of the most extreme weather phenomena that have ever been caught on video. If you've ever wanted to be on Storm Chasers, then you've come to the right place. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Number 10. Droughts. While they might not appear to have any direct effects at first, droughts can be incredibly devastating. The lack of rain in some parts of the world, like at the Horn of Africa, is becoming increasingly more severe, prolonging this phenomenon and forcing thousands to emigrate and become climate refugees. The most famous drought in recent history is that of the Dust Bowl drought, which took place from 1931 to 1939. Taking place in the United States and lasting just under a decade, this drought was characterized by severe dust storms that killed both people and crops throughout the region. It began in the southern plains region of the United States, causing massive dust storms to hit in 1931. By 1934, around 35 million acres of once farmland had been rendered completely useless. At the same time, around 125 million acres of land lost its topsoil. To put these figures into perspective, 125 million acres of land is around the size of the whole of Texas. Thankfully, the Dust Bowl ended in 1939, when regular rainfall returned to the region once more. Number 9. Wildfires. Wildfires are uncontrolled fires that occur in areas of dense, combustible, or flammable vegetation, most often happening in forests. Generally, wildfires are contained to rural areas and mostly affect the animals living in these areas, though they can sometimes spread to areas populated by humans, like towns, villages, and cities. The Indonesian forest fires of 1997 to 1998 are not only some of the deadliest wildfires to ever occur, but are also some of the longest-lasting wildfires of all time. Indonesia began performing large-scale forest conversion during this time, draining peatlands and swamps to convert them into oil palm plantations and rice paddies. This deforestation fostered the fires and made them uncontrollable, with some help from a drought the country experienced during this time as well. The fire started mid-1997 and lasted well into the following year, destroying a total of 8 million hectares of land and claiming the lives of 240 people. Number 8. Tornadoes. Of course, we had to include the mother of all weathers, the fearsome tornado. In the simplest terms, tornadoes are narrow, violently rotating columns of air that extend from thunderstorms to the ground. Since wind is completely invisible, it's difficult to see a tornado unless it forms a condensation funnel made up of dust, debris, and water droplets. It goes without saying that tornadoes can be amongst the most violent phenomena of all atmospheric storms we experience. So where can you expect to find these violent tubes of fast-moving air? Tornadoes occur in many parts of the world, including Europe, Australia, Asia, Africa, and South America. Even New Zealand reports around 20 tornadoes annually, though two of the highest concentrations of tornadoes outside the United States are Bangladesh and Argentina. If you live in the US, then you've likely heard of tornado season. This refers to the time of year that the country sees the most tornadoes, and peaks from early May into early June. And interestingly, while tornadoes can happen during any time of the day or night, they're most likely to occur between 4 and 9 p.m. Number 7. Floods. Flooding is an overflow of water onto land that is normally dry. Floods generally happen during heavy rains, when snow melts quickly, when ocean waves come on shore, or when the dam bursts. In other words, there's a lot that can cause a flood. Damaging floods can happen with just a few inches of water, or can become deep enough to cover a house up to its rooftop. What makes them so dangerous is that they don't always take long to form. A simple rainstorm can turn into a flood in minutes, and can last for days, weeks, or longer. The most dangerous types of floods are flash floods, since they combine the destructive power of a flood with incredible speeds. These flash floods usually occur when heavy rainfall exceeds the ability of the ground to absorb the water. They can also happen when water fills streams or creeks that are usually dry with enough water to flow over their banks. Perhaps the most famous flood in the world is the Johnstown flood. It was so massive that it equaled the flow of the Mississippi River. The disaster began when a dam on Pennsylvania's Lake Conemaugh washed away after a few days of constant downpour. Number 6. Lightning. While we often think of lightning as harmless, loud, bright streaks of light in the distance, it can actually be quite a destructive force of nature. Lightning, in essence, is a massive spark of electricity in the atmosphere between clouds, the air, or the ground. In the early stages of lightning development, air acts as a layer of insulation between the negative and positive charges present in a storm cloud, as well as insulation between the clouds and the ground. When these opposing charges accumulate, the air's insulating ability begins to break down, resulting in a rapid discharge of electricity. The final product is what we know to be lightning. A bolt of lightning temporarily equalizes the charged regions in the atmosphere until the opposite charges accumulate once more and lightning strikes again. Lightning can also occur between opposite charges within the storm cloud itself, which causes lightning to appear contained within a cloud rather than arcing down to the ground. It's one of the oldest natural phenomena that humanity has observed and can appear in a whole host of places. Volcanic eruptions, surface nuclear detonations, extremely intense forest fires, large hurricanes, and of course, thunderstorms. Number 5. Hail. Who knew that frozen chunks of water falling from the sky at rapid speeds could be so destructive? Hail is a form of precipitation caused by solid ice that forms within the updrafts of thunderstorms. In the most severe cases, hail can damage homes, cars, aircraft, and even be deadly to people and livestock. Hailstones are formed when drops of rain are carried upward by thunderstorm updrafts into the atmosphere's coldest layers, causing the rain to freeze. These hailstones can grow by colliding with liquid droplets, freezing them to the surface of the hailstone and expanding its size. If the water experiences instantaneous freezing when colliding with the hailstone, cloudy ice will form as air bubbles, becoming trapped in the newly formed house. However, if the water freezes at a slower pace, the air bubbles can escape, causing the new ice to appear clear. Hail falls when the updraft of a thunderstorm is no longer able to support the weight of the hailstones. This generally happens when stones become quite large, or the storm's updraft weakens. Smaller hailstones can usually be blown away from the updraft by horizontal winds, so larger hail will generally fall closer to the updraft than smaller hail. If the winds near the surface of the earth are blowing fast enough, hail can fall at an angle, or even sideways. Number 4. Wind. Wind isn't always a gentle breeze or a quick gust. Sometimes it gets destructive. These damaging winds are often called straight-line winds to differentiate the damage they cause from that caused by a tornado. Strong thunderstorm winds can appear from a range of different processes, though most damaging storm winds are caused by outflow generated by a thunderstorm's downdraft. But are they really a big deal? The short answer, yes they are. Damage from severe thunderstorm winds account for half of all severe reports in the United States, and considerably more common than damage from tornadoes. In fact, in the most severe cases, wind speeds can reach as high as 100 miles per hour, producing a path of destruction extending for hundreds of miles. Since the majority of thunderstorms produce some straight-line winds as a result of the outflow generated by their downdrafts, anyone living in thunderstorm-prone areas is at risk of experiencing this hazard. People living in mobile homes are especially at risk for injury. But don't worry, damaging winds are not so common that you should constantly be worried about them, and news stations often give plenty of warning before expecting a damaging wind. Number 3. Cold snaps. While global warming has caused us to see plenty more heat waves than in previous years, one extreme weather phenomenon still threatens certain parts of the world, though it's nowhere near as common in heat waves. We are, of course, talking about cold snaps, which are caused by several days of extremely low temperatures. Perhaps the most famous cold snap is the Great Arctic Outbreak of February 1899. It's still considered to be the mother of all cold snaps, and no other cold weather episode has ever yielded lower temperatures over a larger area for as long. The cold began during the first week of February in the western parts of the United States, where temperatures became as low as 33 degrees Fahrenheit. The cold was so extreme that it's said to have flowed from the mouth of the Mississippi into the usually sunny Gulf of Mexico. The worst part is that the cold did not arrive on its own. In the days leading up to Valentine's Day, a nor'easter moved along the East Coast, bringing blizzard-like conditions and more than a foot of snow throughout the states, from Maine to the Carolinas. Number 2. Tropical cyclones. Cyclones take on many different names depending on the place that they appear, though their effects are all the same. In America, they're known as hurricanes, while in Asia, they're called typhoons. All cyclones look the same. Massive whirlpools of wind moving in a uniform direction with an eye at its center. The eye of the storm is generally around 30 to 50 kilometers wide and is considered the calmest point throughout the storm. However, wind speeds around the storm can reach up to 200 kilometers an hour. In the tropics, there is a large area of low pressure stretching from either side of the equator. The winds on the northern side of this area blow from the northeast, and on the southern side, winds blow from the southeast. Within this low-pressure zone, air is heated by the warm tropical ocean, rising in discrete parcels that cause thundery showers to form. In most cases, these showers come and go, but they can sometimes group into large thunderstorm clusters, creating a flow of very warm, wet, rapidly rising air. This eventually develops into a center of low pressure or depression at the surface. At the end of it all, a cyclone forms, wreaking destruction in its wake until it eventually, hopefully, disperses. Number 1. Heat waves. Heat waves are prolonged periods of excessive heat, often combined with excessive humidity. But we're not just talking about any old heat wave where the temperature rises just 1 or 2 degrees. Rather, we mean the kind of heat waves that cause heat exhaustion, cramps, swelling, and fainting. It's the kind of extreme weather that tends to creep up on you undetected until you're sweating through every last stitch of clothing you own. Largely considered to be the worst heat wave in the world is that which occurred in southern Pakistan in 2015. Though it thankfully lasted for just 1 week in June of that year, the unbelievable heat that engulfed Pakistan claimed the lives of more than 2,000 people. With temperatures in cities like Turbat reaching 49 degrees Celsius, the nation was hit with an incredible strain on its water supply. Things became so bleak that local morgues found themselves unable to keep up with the number of cadavers being brought to them. That's all, folks. You've made it to the end of this video. If you like this video, do us a favor and hit the thumbs up button down below. Consider subscribing to the channel so you stay updated with all our posts. And if you never want to miss another upload, hit the bell icon down below to get notified when we put out another video. Until next time, bye-bye.